everyone. I'm Kinsey Moss with Georgia Manufacturing Alliance. And today, for our member spotlight, we have Mr. Reeves Smith with Leapfrog. And Reeves, you are the Director of Sales.
That's right. Thank you
Well,
for
I'm
having
so,
me.
of course, yes, I'm so excited for this. Can you tell us in very simple terms, what is Leapfrog? What do you do?
Sure, absolutely. So Leapfrog Services is at the core, we're an IT services company, a managed service provider. We've been in business for over 25 years, serving a variety of Georgia-based companies over those years. A big majority of those are manufacturing and distribution companies. So we provide uh, our goal basically is to do everything IT related for manufacturers so manufacturers can focus on their core business, which is manufacturing operations and serving their clients. So we focus on that. And in the last few years, our business has turned into much more focus around cybersecurity and the concerns with that, with smart manufacturing, IoT, and the kind of proliferation of that. And so, as technology expands and grows, we do that for our clients as well.
So what made Leapfrog specifically want to help Georgia manufacturers?
Um, so we're really focused in the mid-size and small enterprise-based company market, and we do serve some other industries, but manufacturing is the heart and soul of the Georgia economy. If you look around the state of Georgia, there are just in our part of the market, there are several thousand manufacturers in Georgia that are represented in the state. And so it's a great market. It's a market that we do really well with. They also have some unique IT challenges. Um, they're slow adopters of technology. They have a lot of systems that are work really well, and they don't want to change those, but they're almost forced to because of technology change. And so we help them do that and progress with technology and stay ahead of the curve.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like it's hard to when you have a system in place. It's manufacturers definitely stick to what they know, and if it works, it works. But with technology changing every day, maybe there's things that not necessarily change the way they do it, but maybe improve on that process. So
Right.
it's very, very important.
Well,
Um,
and I would say this that for many years manufacturers could get away with that, and now with cybersecurity threats, you really don't have a choice but to modernize to some degree, or you expose your entire company to cyber attack and potentially putting yourself out of business if you stay if you don't modernize to some degree.
yes, definitely. We talked about that in our last networking luncheon,
Hmm.
just cyber security and um, AI, how people are utilizing AI for negative reasons to uh,
Sure.
scam people, and it's definitely scary. And when you're a manufacturer, these are like one-off things. Like you own that equipment or that process, and um, if you get scammed by the AI or whatever else is out there, it can definitely hurt your business a lot. So that is really great that Leapfrog helps in that area. Do you have a particular success story that you can share with us? Um,
Well, I have probably a couple, and one I'll focus on or describe that's a manufacturer, and it's a cyber security challenge. So, it was a manufacturer that had another managed service provider that was supporting them, and we were called because they were attacked. They had that there was a cyber attacker that came in and froze all of their systems. They could not operate, and so we were able to uh, come in, help them restore their operations, and the story there were the success story was we very quickly got them back into operations. The scary part, or the part to be aware of, was that um, they had not paid attention to their backup and recovery policies and plans, even though they assumed they were backed up every week. They had not done that in quite a long time, so they lost a lot of data. They assumed that because they were a small manufacturer, they really weren't a target of cyber attackers, and so they didn't pay much attention to cyber insurance and being covered by that, and they didn't have the kind of follow-up plans in place. So the incident and the experience was much more painful than it had to be. We were able to help them and modernize some hardware and things and get them on the right track so they shouldn't have that happen in the future. But the lesson learned there was that you're always big enough for an attack, and any one of those things could put you out of business if you're not able to get up and operate. I had a different client in a similar situation, and I was sitting there with them the day that their CFO had to call payroll and tell them they could not run payroll because they couldn't get the data back in time to do it. And so it was a traumatic, experience for them, and a lot of reputational damage. So that's kind of the negative side of what you need to be aware of and how we help somebody out of a really bad situation. On the other side, we have a client um, that is a manufacturer that has been a client of ours for probably 15 years. And when we started working with them, they had one manufacturing facility in one location in Georgia, and we ran their small IT operations. We ran all their infrastructure and their networks, and we did end user support for them. But over the 15 years, they have grown by leaps and bounds. So we have been able to help them stay on that growth path. We've been really scalable in supporting them. And today they have 27 locations all over the Southeast. And every time they've expanded and either acquired a company or they've grown organically and just added a manufacturing or distribution location, we've gone in and built out that entire environment for them, set up all their users. And so we continue today with 22 locations to support all their users and take care of things so that all they need to do is focus on operations and serving their clients.
And I think that's amazing because that's what they know how to do that portion. And what I've noticed from this member spotlight is how many different people go into making a successful manufacturing facility.
Sure.
Last week, I met with Russ from Buckhalter, and he's an attorney, and I was like, I didn't even ever think of these different things, and I don't think IT when I think manufacturer unless they do
Right.
something along the lines. But this is why I've enjoyed doing member spotlight so much, because this is huge, and
Right.
you just made a great point that you can find a company that's at their starting point, and your job is to help them grow, not stay stagnant. um, and it help them in a field that they might not know all the ins and outs about. So it's important to have someone
Right.
like Leapfrog to trust and be there as they grow.
Right.
And
Well, one of the things that I tell new clients when I'm talking to them. So in certain cases, you have clients that have tried to manage IT internally. They've got a resource or two resources that help them, and on one side, their resources just it's impossible almost for one or two resources to keep up with the changes in technology. They would have to be in class all the time rather than running IT operations. But I tell a lot of clients that in today's world, as complex as IT is, it takes about 12 to 15 IT skills to run a competent IT operation. Even for a mid-sized business, there's so much complexity around networks and cybersecurity and the cloud and the applications. And businesses in this mid-market area just and unless there's something unusual, usually can't afford all those resources. So they either compromise and do with fewer resources and spread them too thin, or they'll engage a managed service provider so they get all the skills they need and they share in that with other people. And that's really where we're able to help clients in that area.
Yeah. I feel like back to your first success story, I feel like cyber issues could happen more with smaller companies because they might know that they don't have those.
Size businesses don't have the sophisticated
That's it.
cybersecurity measures in a lot of cases. Um, and there's so many things that clients, manufacturers can do. And one of the points I'll also always try to make is, although we are an IT service provider and we design and recommend all of the IT security measures that you need to put in place, that's only 50% of the challenge. So
Mm,
usually when something happens, it can happen to a company that has all the IT services. They can have firewalls and they can have multi-factor authentication and end user training and a variety of other things. They can have the technologies in place, but if you don't have the people, policies, and procedures in place to train them and to make sure they're doing what's right, 90% of the issues are not technology related. It's because one or two people failed to do the right thing. So
mm.
there is far more around cybersecurity, cyber governance, and policy management, and verifying that you're doing the right things with your people that is equally critical to the technology. And we always try to advise clients that you can't be comfortable with just the technology.
Yes. How do y'all combat that? Is that something y'all do on your end, or do you require your clients' employees to like take classes on that? How do you make sure everybody is up to speed on what they need to do to protect their privacy?
Right. There's a couple of things. So on the technology side, when we come in and look at a new client, we'll assess kind of what their IT environment looks like. What security tools do they have in place and everything else. So we look at the technology side and make recommendations on what they need to do to to have the technology secure them as much as possible. But we also have a virtual chief security officer. It's an advisor on governance, risk, and compliance. And we can come in and help them with what procedures do they need to have in place? How do they need to train their users? There is a technology called end user awareness training, and it's an automated tool that sends out fictitious phishing emails and various things. And the whole purpose of that, excuse me, is to help remind users that an attack can happen at any time. And it's usually something that looks exactly like an internal message. It could look like it's coming from Jason and it's not. It is somebody impersonating them. So there are a lot of things we do around that. We also help clients in terms of doing cyber risk readiness assessment. So we'll test and look at all, go through a questionnaire just like a cyber insurance carrier would on what do they have in place? Is it adequate enough? Does it meet their risk needs? So because some people, just like with home or auto insurance, they'll over insure themselves when they don't really need to do it. So we'll advise them on what's the proper level of cyber insurance and cyber risk that they can assume and what should they do about it.
That's awesome. I shared at our networking luncheon that when I was a teacher, we had the multi-factor authentication, and we had to do it on our phone. We had a little button that we like a little
Hmm.
key fob looking thing. And as frustrating as it was, because I would be in the middle of teaching and my computer would log out and we had to log back in, it makes a lot of sense because I mean, even in the education world, we have a lot that we're protecting names and grades and addresses and all that. So I'm a little bit familiar with it, but I think it is very important. The phishing emails, those used to get me a little bit at the school. That would look like it was from the principal and it wasn't. So we had to do like a course on that. So it kind of sounds like that's what y'all are implementing as well, making sure that
Well,
everybody knows how to.
that is certainly one aspect of it around multi-factor authentication. I would tell you the thing that a lot of manufacturers are facing now is as they move into smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0, the strategic focus for a lot of manufacturers is now moving toward um, the Internet of Things, all of these connected devices that are out on the manufacturing floor. They're monitoring manufacturing equipment. They're monitoring conveyor systems and security access. And so there are so many devices connected to their internet and inside their firewall. Every single one of those is a potential entry point for a cyber attack. So that how do you secure all of that, and how do you make sure that you're monitoring that both from an operations standpoint, is it working the way you expect it to, but also is it secure? And so there's a lot around what we call endpoint detection and response and monitoring all of those things to make sure it's not just your core systems and your core servers that are protected, but all of those devices that a human may not touch at all, they're just sending data back and forth, need to be protected as well. And that's a big concern for manufacturers today.
Definitely. When you have one of those initial meetings with a manufacturing client, what is something that um, kind of puts you above other IT companies? What surprises them about y'all?
So um, I would say in a number of cases, part of that is the what I would call the level of maturity and proactiveness that we run IT at. So there are IT service providers out there that are what I would consider to be very reactive. If you call them up and tell them you have a problem, they'll address it. No, a lot of times or whatever. But we manage in a very disciplined way. We manage complex IT for clients. So we're monitoring if something needs to be done, and we inform you that we see something or it's time for an upgrade or something else. So it's not just a lot of times manufacturers feel like they're having to stay on top of their service provider, their internal staff, and say, "Did you do this? Why did this go down? This laptop isn't working." We're monitoring that and trying to take care of it for you before you even know about it, or as soon as you know about it, we're responding to it. So there's this proactive nature around that. The other thing is a lot of manufacturers view IT services as a cost center. It's a necessary evil, and
Mhm.
they shouldn't do that. For the most part, we can be a strategic partner with them. So we're not just trying to take care of the way IT needs to be supported today, but we're working side by side with the senior leadership to say, where do you want to go next year? What's your growth plans? Do you want to open up a new manufacturing line? Do you have a vision of opening a new location or, a different type of business? And if that's the case, here's the things you need to think about from a technology investment standpoint. Or let us tell you what the trends are in AI and what it's going to take to be fully ready to take advantage of AI. So that strategic partner view is something a lot of times manufacturers are not accustomed to, and they don't think of as being able to acquire from an outside firm.
Yeah. Back to the AI trends that you're seeing. Um, is that the major trend you're seeing right now in your world, and how are y'all overcoming that with your client?
So what I would tell you is that until this year, cybersecurity, cyber risk was the number one issue and concern for manufacturers. Um,
Good. Not a
so,
good
and
one,
it is
but
no, but there was this fear of, are we protected? Do we have the things in place so we won't be attacked, or at least if we are attacked, we'll have the least downtime and the least cost impact that we can. Um, it's still a high concern. There's a lot of diligence and around that to make sure that they're paying attention to it. But this year is the first time that AI and kind of the Internet of Things has gained more interest. It's becoming the higher interest. What are we going to do with AI? How can we use that to our competitive advantage and whatnot? I would say most of the cases you read that are really exciting use cases for AI in manufacturing are typically going to be in Fortune, enterprise level global companies. They have the resources to invest in it. The mid-sized businesses and small enterprise businesses around Georgia aren't there yet. So the good news is they're all concerned about it. Everyone's focused on AI. But at this point, what we see are a lot of clients that are trying to figure out how do we put step tip our how do we dip our toe in the water and start to do something with it. A lot of companies, we do a lot of AI readiness assessments, and it's looking at what's your infrastructure today. Do you have the data you would need to take on use cases? What are the most practical use cases that you could take on today? So it's how do we get started, and that's where the kind of mid-sized manufacturers that we serve, that's the point they're at today. They're not significantly out of the starting gate yet. They're trying to make sure that they're ready to do that, and that they've got the funds and the resources. There's a huge training issue. There's a huge training gap. You hear a lot about AI, but there's not enough skills to go around on AI for all the manufacturers to be to be able to hire and take that on right now.
it definitely seems like most people are trying to utilize AI for the good rather than worrying so much about the negative that could potentially happen. I think, like you said, getting ahead of it, um, being aware of it, what you can do with it, um, getting
Yep.
as much knowledge as possible on it. Because to me, it's really awesome. I mean, I don't have a ton of experience in it yet, other than like Chat GPT and things like that. But it's a little scary because it's still a lot of unknown about where this is going to go in the future, but it's also really exciting because
Right.
this feels very futuristic. Like we're living in the futuristic world with all this crazy awesome things um
Yeah.
that are new to us right now.
Right. Well, there's a few points I can make around AI in terms of what we see from clients. One is um, because you have technologies there, you probably have a number of applications, whether it's Microsoft Office or your ERP system, or other your CRM system, whatever. But you probably have a number of business applications that already have AI tools embedded in them. So that's a great place to start out. You can start to use those AI tools to take advantage in the places that they're given to you at. So we use Microsoft Copilot all the time to look at data inside our organization and share information, and it's a great productivity. Um, it gives us a great productivity increase. It gives us a lot of great insights. So take advantage of the things you have there. I would also tell you that AI creates a tremendous cybersecurity risk as well. So you have to be very cautious that you're not using tools that will that you give. You've got to be careful that you don't give general AI tools access to your private information if they're the tools that take that and distribute it outside your network. Yeah, so there's a case of a company that had a tremendous number of patents and a huge volume of intellectual property. And this was a Fortune 500 company. And somebody used the open chat GPT version and was looking for data and all of that. And it basically sucked all of their intellectual property out and posted it to chat GPT. And so they lost control of all of that. And so it was a nightmare for them. But that's another area for AI is use the tools you have, try to train on that, and make sure you're aware that it can be a huge cyber risk for you if you're not careful.
Definitely. Staying aware is very important. Keeping up to date, making sure you're researching on it, being knowledgeable
Yeah.
about it for sure. So people are definitely going to want to reach out to you and Leapfrog to request your services. So what is a good way to get in contact with you?
Uh, One of two ways. So they can just go to our website, which is leapfrogservices.com. Or they can reach out and just send me an email at reeves.smith@leapfrogservices.com, and I'll be happy. Either I'll respond to you directly, or one of the other sales executives that works for me will respond to you very quickly and set up some time to talk and see how we can help you.
And if they want to meet you in person, then they can inquire about coming to our Coffee and Connections, which you hold a seat at. But other than that, I think we've had some really great points today. You have taught me a lot about what Leapfrog does and how you can be of a huge advantage to our manufacturers in Georgia, which is very important in this day and age with technology being over pretty much everything. So thank you so much, Reeves, for being here.
Thanks, Kinsey. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.